The year is 1857, a pivotal moment in American history. America, a young nation founded on principles of liberty and justice for all, was grappling with its own contradictions. The country found itself teetering on the precipice of a crisis that would define its future. At the heart of this crisis lay the deeply contentious issue of slavery, a practice that contradicted the nation's founding ideals. Dred Scott, an enslaved man, had appealed for his freedom, claiming that his residence in free territories should grant him and his family their liberty. His case would become a landmark in the fight for freedom. The Supreme Court ruled against Scott, declaring that African Americans, whether free or enslaved, were not citizens and therefore had no right to sue in federal court. This decision sent shockwaves through the nation. The decision exposed the deep chasm that existed between the North and the South, highlighting the stark differences in their views on slavery. It underscored the divide between those who viewed slavery as a moral abomination and those who defended it as an economic and social necessity, further polarizing the nation. In the aftermath of the Dred Scott decision, the fragile equilibrium that had held the nation together began to crumble, setting the stage for the inevitable conflict. The ruling pushed America closer to the brink of disunion, making the Civil War almost unavoidable. To fully grasp the implications of the Dred Scott decision, one must delve into the legal and political landscape of antebellum America. This period was marked by intense debates and conflicts over the institution of slavery. The nation was founded on a paradox, a declaration that all men are created equal, yet enshrining slavery within its constitution. This contradiction would fuel decades of tension and conflict. The Missouri Compromise of 1820 had outlawed slavery north of the 36 degrees 30 minutes parallel, attempting to balance the interests of free and slave states. However, the issue of slavery's expansion remained contentious, particularly as the United States acquired new territories in the West. Each new territory brought the question of whether it would be free or slaveholding. The Compromise of 1850 heightened tensions by enacting a stricter fugitive slave law, which mandated that escaped slaves be returned to their owners even if they were found in free states. Scott's lawyers argued that his residence in free territories should grant him his freedom. They contended that living in areas where slavery was prohibited made him a free man. The Supreme Court, under Chief Justice Roger B. Taney, ruled that African Americans were not considered citizens at the time the Constitution was framed and therefore possessed no rights under it. This decision would have far-reaching consequences, further polarizing the nation and setting the stage for the Civil War. The Dred Scott decision was met with shock, outrage, and jubilation across the nation. In the North, the decision was seen as a travesty of justice, a betrayal of the nation's founding principles. Newspapers denounced the decision, condemning it as a victory for the slave power. Abolitionists intensified their calls for the immediate end to slavery. In the South, the decision was greeted with relief and celebration. Slaveholders saw it as a vindication of their way of life. Southern newspapers hailed the decision as a triumph for states' rights. The Dred Scott decision had a profound impact on the political landscape, particularly on the burgeoning Republican Party. The party's platform, centered on opposing the expansion of slavery, resonated with a growing number of Northerners who were appalled by the decision. The years following the Dred Scott decision were marked by events that escalated tensions between the North and South. The ruling shattered any remaining illusions of compromise. The raid at Harper's Ferry in 1859, led by John Brown, deepened fears of Northern interference. The 1860 presidential election proved pivotal. The election of Abraham Lincoln, a Republican, was met with outrage in the South. Southern states began to secede from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. On April 12, 1861, Confederate forces fired upon Fort Sumter, marking the beginning of the American Civil War. The nation was now engulfed in a bloody conflict, a tragic testament to the enduring legacy of slavery. The American Civil War, a brutal conflict that claimed over 600,000 lives, was a watershed moment in the nation's history. It was a time of immense struggle and sacrifice, with families torn apart and communities devastated. The war's impact was felt across the entire nation, from the bustling cities to the rural farmlands. It was a war fought for the preservation of the Union and the soul of America. The stakes were incredibly high, as the very future of the United States hung in the balance. The conflict tested the nation's resolve and its commitment to the principles of freedom and equality. In the midst of the war, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that all slaves held in Confederate territory were to be freed. This bold move was a turning point, shifting the focus of the war towards the fight for human rights and justice. The Emancipation Proclamation transformed the war into a fight for the liberation of enslaved people. It galvanized the Union forces and gave them a renewed sense of purpose, as they now fought not just for the Union, but for the freedom of millions. The Union victory in 1865 marked the end of slavery in America. This triumph was a monumental step forward in the nation's journey towards equality and justice for all its citizens. The 13th Amendment, ratified in 1865, abolished slavery and involuntary servitude. This landmark legislation was a crucial milestone in the fight for civil rights, ensuring that no person could be held in bondage. The 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, granted citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States and guaranteed equal protection under the law. This amendment was a significant step in defining and protecting the rights of all Americans. This amendment overturned the Dred Scott decision, which had previously denied citizenship to African Americans. It was a powerful affirmation of the nation's commitment to equality. The 15th Amendment, ratified in 1870, prohibited the denial of the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. This amendment was a vital step in ensuring that all citizens had a voice in the democratic process, laying the groundwork for future civil rights advancements. Though the Dred Scott decision was nullified by the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, its legacy continues to resonate. The decision serves as a reminder of the fragility of rights and the importance of vigilance in safeguarding them. In recent years, there have been attempts to invoke the Dred Scott decision in support of discriminatory policies. These attempts often involve misinterpretations of the ruling, seeking to legitimize present-day prejudices. The Dred Scott decision stands as a cautionary tale, a reminder that the march towards a more just society requires constant vigilance. The Dred Scott decision, though a low point in American legal history, played a pivotal role in propelling the nation towards a more just future. By exposing the deep flaws within American society, the decision served as a catalyst for change. The war led to the abolition of slavery and the ratification of the Reconstruction Amendments. The legacy of Dred Scott is complex, a